Back in 2022, I received an email from David. He was looking for music for what would become Soria, and the moment I saw his work, I knew I wanted to be part of that work. His ability to weave story, animating, editing, and sound into cohesive emotional experience is pure mastery. And the more I watch his movies, I realize how detail-oriented he is. There's so much happening in the background that one usually misses on the first watch. And as a music composer, I get to watch a film again and again and again. And it's incredible. And it always inspires my music as well, how detail-oriented he is with his narrative and his animation and every aspect of filmmaking. Collaborating with someone so technically brilliant and yet so easy to work with has been one of the most rewarding artistic journeys of my life. From the highlands of Scotland to my little studio in Argentina, Dinosauria became a bridge, not just across continents, but between two storytellers, and this is the story of how the music was made. The first piece I had to write for Terrible Lizards was for the year 1842, when dinosaurs were still creatures of myth. And this was long before movies, of course, and they were imagined as terrifying, towering monsters. And I wanted the music to reflect that. It had to sound like it came from the Romantic period, but also feel mysterious, almost primal. And I went back and forth trying to find that sound in my head. In the end, I leaned into that pounding feeling, a relentless pulse carried by the orchestra and brought to life by the amazing musicians who recorded it. That driving energy became the backbone of that piece. The bigger challenge, though, was the whole soundtrack. I needed a clear concept, something that could evolve with each era David had written into the film. At some point, I told David I'd approach it just like he did, with a unique aesthetic for each period. But musically, that meant digging deep into not just composition, but how each era sounded, from the instruments to the recording technology, composition, mixing, mastering. It had all to reflect the specific time. To tie it all together, I needed a strong connected element, and it took me a while to realize what it had to be, but that became the theme. At first, I connected the theme to the iguanodon, which appears at the start. And in this particular cue, 1842, the theme is sort of suggested, very minimally, and it evolves with each passing era. But it really took me a while to find it, and once I had it, I could begin weaving it into every era like a thread through history. The moment I saw how David animated the 1933 segment, something clicked. It instantly took me back to my childhood. 2 afternoons spent watching my grandfather's worn-out VHS copy of the original King Kong. That memory came flooding back, and I knew if I wanted to honor the world David had brought to life, I had to give it everything I had. Musically, I turned to Max Steiner, one of the founding fathers of film scoring. His work on King Kong was a huge influence, but somehow my love for the old 1941 Superman cartoon crept into as well. Those heroic brass lines, the rhythm, that larger-than-life feel, it all felt right. That era has a very particular language, a vocabulary that it's very particular to that era. And I had to research into that and actually get the hang of that as well. I recorded 2 fantastic cellists and a trumpet player for this particular cue, which gave the orchestra this vibrant classic energy. The performances brought the whole thing to life, and it's amazing how much of a difference a real player makes when you are using also virtual instruments. In a way, I think live players bring to the table what actors bring to a script. I mean, the performance is always different, it's always human, and it's amazing and a privilege to have worked with these amazing players for this soundtrack. Even the mix had to follow the era, and I started in mono, just like a recording from the 30s. And slowly opened it up into a stylized stereo image, following David's transitions into each star for each era. This was the dawn of Hollywood's Silver Age and of dinosaurs also becoming legends on the big screen. And back then, dinosaurs weren't treated like animals, they were icons, monsters, myths. And I think David Animation captured that era with such charm and detail. It brought me right back to those afternoons as a kid, eyes wide open, falling in love with stories told in black and white. If 1933 was the beginning of dinosaurs on screen, then the 90s was the era that crowned them as legends. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with dinosaurs. But it all reached a whole new level when I won tickets for my entire family to see Jurassic Park at the cinema. I was around 9, and that experience burned into my memory. David's depiction of the 90s era hit me right in the heart. The specific tone of awe, of science meets cinema, and of dinosaurs being presented as the sentient animals they were for the first time. I knew I had to lean into those emotions. So I made the theme as grand and heroic as I could. Maybe even a little bit over the top, just like the era, and big brass lines, soaring strings, and that sort of thing. I wanted the score to feel like a documentary and an adventure movie at the same time. I recorded a trumpet player and a cellist for this particular cue, and the trumpet especially helped push the music into that bold, epic space. This was a time when dinosaurs were no longer monsters, but majestic creatures, almost noble. And David captured the shift perfectly. The way they moved, the light, the color, it reminded me of how I felt watching those scenes for the first time, wide-eyed in a dark cinema. And finally we arrive in 2025, the present. The culmination of David's love letter to both dinosaurs and cinema. For this final chapter, I wanted the music to reach a climax, a very emotional ending, portraying our love for cinema but also our perception of dinosaurs as full sentient beings, capable of deep emotion and deserving of our respect as any other animal on this earth. Scenes are introduced for the first time here, and I was incredibly lucky to work with 2 amazing singers who gave this segment a sense of intimacy and scale. Their voices actually helped the soundtrack find its much needed emotional peak at the ending. This was a huge thank you to David, but also to every filmmaker who's ever brought wonder to the screen. Filmmakers who bring magic to our lives and introduce us to a world of wonder, reflection, and joy. Throughout the process, my wife and daughter support me in ways I'll never forget. My daughter, she's 8, actually helped pick the singers, and my wife and daughter lent their ears and gave me amazing feedback for the music while it was still taking shape. More than once, the intuition led to a better decision that I couldn't have thought of by myself. And of course, thank you to the wonderful musicians who brought this music to life, who inspired me with their performance. To my patrons and supporters who believe in my work and make it possible. To David's amazing audience for letting me share a piece of this journey with you. And finally, a huge thanks to David himself for trusting me while writing this soundtrack, for inspiring the music, and for being such an amazing filmmaker and human being. Thank you.